Hi, this is Kathy Weymouth from tunethetemple.com, and I am in a series, very short series, on the topic of minimizing. And in video 1, I just introduce the topic, define it, tell you a little bit of what it sounds like when there's minimization happening, some phrases that people may say to you or you may say to others. And I also just encourage you to just start watching and listening for minimization. So if you haven't watched video 1, I would really encourage you to stop this video and go back and watch that one. And also video 2, I decided to start with what happens when you are being minimized? What does it feel like? And what are some suggestions that I could give to you for the next time that it happens? Because it doesn't feel good. Minimization is basically when someone takes an experience or a feeling, an emotion that you're having and describing, and they're trying to make it smaller than what it actually was. So they're trying to help you not feel so bad, or they're saying the situation isn't as bad as it could be. And so they sort of just kind of squash it down or make it smaller. And often it's with the intention of making you feel better. But I did ask in video 2 that you would really tap into what does it feel like when someone minimizes or invalidates you when you are sharing something, because I think that feeling is really important to tap into. It doesn't feel good when you're not heard. It doesn't feel good when someone's implying that you're taking things and making it like making a mountain out of a molehill. It doesn't feel good when someone is saying that, you're explaining something, that it didn't really happen or it's not really so. What people really want is they want to be heard and understood. And I keep mentioning this. So if you haven't watched video 2, I suggest you stop this one and go back and watch that first. Okay, so that's sort of a review. Now, in video 3 here, I want to talk about how you minimize other people and some suggestions for how to stop doing that. And why would you want to stop? Well, first of all, it's not really, what's the word? It's not really loving. It's not really caring for people when you minimize their experiences and feelings. It might appear that you're trying to help and that you're trying to help them feel better, but really it's not helping. It's not helping the person, and it also is not helping your relationship. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about my experience. Okay. I shared last week in video 2 about an experience I had, a very minimizing experience that really involved complete dismissing of what I said was happening. And it involved my sleep specialist, a new person I'm working with, and I mentioned that sometimes when people minimize, you really might want to find someone else to talk to. So that's what I did. I actually reached out and said, I'd like to find a new person to work with at the sleep center. And I called the one person I knew from previous experiences, my tech for my CPAP machine, and I expressed a desire to work with someone else, and could they recommend someone? And oh my gosh, so I can't wait, because the sleep tech said that he was going to refer me to the head of the department. So I'm like, oh my, and how good she is, and how I might have to wait a while because she's so good and she's so thorough and she'll look at everything. And I was like, oh, I felt so heard, and I felt so like I have something I can move forward with. I'm not just stuck in this stalemate of working with someone who says I don't have a problem when I feel that I do have a problem. This other person minimized and dismissed my whole case. And now I was heard by the sleep tech, and I have a referral in to work with the head of the department. I think that's just awesome. So sometimes when people are minimizing you, you just have to take action. And you have to just do something different or talk to someone else. That was one of my suggestions last week. Okay, so let's talk about what if you are minimizing someone and you may not even realize you're doing it. Let's just talk about curtailing this whole thing, because it's just not helpful. All right, so let's first say, why do we minimize others? And I want to remind you, on the positive end, we minimize what people are going through because we want them to feel better, and we're trying to cheer them up. We don't want them to be in the dumps. We want them to come out of that mood and come into a more positive space. We want them to be happier. So we may say, oh, it's not that bad. Or no, it wasn't, are you sure this is what happened? And we challenge, we give advice. Did you try doing this? Did you try doing that? So we can minimize in an attempt to make someone feel better. Okay, that's not what people need at first, but it does work down the road. Okay, sometimes we minimize for negative reasons, like we're just sick of hearing somebody complaining and complaining and complaining. And so then we just try to change their viewpoint because we just personally don't want to listen anymore. Okay, that could be with some motivation from your own sake, you know. I'll talk a little suggestion about that when I get to the suggestion part of the video. Okay, sometimes we minimize or invalidate people because we don't even realize we're doing it. So that's ignorance. We just don't even realize, which is, I did that for years and I didn't even realize what I was doing. So that's more innocent, but it can also be helped. Okay, sometimes we minimize because we are trying to control people, or we're trying to one up them. Like, I want to feel better about me, so I'll one up what your experience, and I'll talk about how bad my experience was. While you're really wanting to be heard about your experience, I'll talk about my experience. I will steal the conversation away from you, and I'll tell you my story that relates to the story that you've just told. And so now I'm making the focus of the conversation be about me. Have you ever had anybody do that to you? It seems to happen a lot. And I want to be heard. I want my story to be told, and I want to be heard and validated. And then maybe I would be then more ready to listen to someone else. Okay, so sometimes people just steal the conversation. They just do it. And I think some people do it chronically and don't even realize they are doing that. So I may have to make a video about that. I think I might have already had one, but maybe I'll make another one. Okay, so the second point I want to make is invalidating or minimizing. You really want to stop doing this to people, because it isn't helping them, nor is it helping your relationship. And we are called to love the people in our circle and to love our neighbors as ourselves. And so it's not loving to be minimizing and invalidating. So let's go ahead and see how we can stop it. So as I do at the end of my videos, I have some suggestions. And I do want to clarify, my videos are never all inclusive. I just brainstorm 5 things, often it's 5, that I can think of that you could try. There's probably 5 or 10 more, and this is not an all-inclusive or every idea that you could try. But here's some that I came up with, so I hope they help you. Okay, so first of all, number 1, if you want to grab your pencil, I think it's really good first to start to become more aware. You know, even ask for spiritual awareness. Ask for divine intervention or for red flags to go up when you are minimizing someone, because you're probably not even realizing it. So number 1, ask for awareness and start to become more aware. Number 2, remember what it feels like when you are minimized. It doesn't feel good. Remember the feeling. So that will help you to say, oh, I'm doing that to my friend. And I'm sure that's how they're feeling, the way I was feeling when I was minimized. So remember the feeling and tap into how yucky it feels and how even destructive it can be. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, what you're going to do now is you're going to listen first with active listening, and you are going to validate what they're saying and affirm what they're feeling, and listen with 2 ears, and maybe speak less than you are, use your ears more than your tongue. Speak less and listen more. Repeat back what they said so they feel like they are heard and listened to. That is so important. And then they're going to be really open to other things, maybe some suggestions, in a bit. But start with listening. Number 4, if you are in the middle of a conversation and all of a sudden you realize what you're doing, you can backtrack and fix what you just did. And you can just say, oh my gosh, I'm realizing I'm giving you advice before I actually empathized with you. So number 4, do some backtracking. And I mentioned in a previous video, I catch myself texting. I'm texting advice, and then I go back and I add, the sentence or 2 in the beginning, like, oh my gosh, that must feel so badly what you went through. I'm so sorry for you. And then I might say, would you like some ideas on, how to move forward? But so backtrack and fill in and explain what you're doing, and that you're learning to not minimize first, and you're learning to listen first. Okay, so that's number 4. And then number 5, the last one, you know what? You might have to set some boundaries, which is what I'm actually doing by not going back to work with the same sleep specialists. You know, some people are draining. Some people want to talk only about the negative experiences. So set boundaries. Some people may not, you may just need to really minimize having contact with them. Other people, you might want to say, you know, I'm willing to listen to what you're going through for 5 minutes. And then after that, we're going to go on and talk about something else, or I'd like to give you some suggestions. Like, you can set a time limit. That's a good boundary. Okay. I'm setting a boundary with a sleep specialist, and I'm not going to go back and work with this person anymore. So I've just shut the door on that. So anyway, so here are your 5 suggestions. If you catch yourself minimizing, now I want to remind you, it's really common. It's very, very common. So I don't want you to beat yourself up. I want you to take these ideas and try to apply 1 or 2 of them, or some others that you might think of or someone else might give you. Okay, so this is Kathy Weymouth at tunethetemple.com, and this is my final video, I think, on the topic of minimizing. Have a great day and a great week.